The learning targets for this lesson are, I could tell whether the dilation was a reduction or enlargement and explain why, and I could find the scale factor that was used to create the dilation. In this first example, you are given a graph of two figures. One is the pre-image or the original, and the other is the image or the dilation. The first question asks, can you identify whether it's a reduction or an enlargement, and what do you look for? So if I was looking at these two triangles, there's absolutely no way for me to tell whether the figure was reduced or enlarged in the dilation. The only thing that would help me would be these prime symbols. If I had A prime, B prime, and C prime, that would tell me that it was the image. So the figure got bigger in my dilation, which means that it's an enlargement. If the prime symbols were on the smaller blue triangle and I had A prime, B prime, C prime over here, they would tell me that this one is the image and my triangle got smaller and was reduced. But without those prime symbols, there's no way for me to tell whether the triangle was reduced or enlarged. Number 2 says, how could you figure out the scale factor? Well, in the next couple examples, we're going to learn how to put a number on that dilation, which is the scale factor, and how to figure it out if I'm already given the two pictures. So in my first example, you see the dilation is already done for you. The figure was enlarged because the green rectangle has the prime symbols. So I know my scale factor must have been greater than 1. I just don't know what it is. So to help me, I'm going to write down the coordinates of the blue rectangle, the original, and I'm also going to write down the coordinates of the green rectangle, which are the image. So for a scale factor with a dilation, we know that we're multiplying, okay? We have the original coordinates and we have the image coordinates. And our job to find the scale factor is to find out what did they multiply by. How did they get from the original to the image? So if I look at all the numbers, 1, 3 to 3, 9, 4, 3 to 12, 9, I see that they always multiplied by 3. That number becomes our scale factor because every number in the original was multiplied by 3 to get the image. And that does make sense because 3 is larger than 1, which would enlarge my figure. In the second example, we want to find the scale factor, and again, we see that the image is clearly labeled. This time it's our blue figure, which means it was reduced. Okay, so my scale factor is going to be less than 1. So first thing I need is the coordinates of the original. Then I write down the coordinates of the image. Okay, again, this helps me to say, does my figure get bigger or smaller? And if I look at the coordinates of the original and then the coordinates of the image, I want to say, what did they multiply by to get from -4 to 2? What did they multiply to get from 4 to 2? What did they multiply to get from 2 to 1? That number is a half. And then again, that makes sense because the scale factor is less than 1, which reduces the size of the object. A couple more questions just to look at is, what is the scale factor for this blue question if P, -2,5, becomes P prime, -4,10? Okay, if I look at my examples here, you will never multiply by a negative scale factor. So now I'm down to 2 options. One of the scale factors is going to make my numbers bigger. One of them is going to make the numbers smaller. And I see from -2 times 2 is going to give me -4, and 5 times 2 gives me 10. So my scale factor is 2. Okay, the red example, what is the scale factor if point P was 60 and became 90? Okay, I have these examples. A lot of students want to pick 3 because they saw it increase by 3, but be careful, scale factor is a multiplication, and 6 times 1.5 gives me 9, so the scale factor is 1.5. This last example looks a little bit different. They did not give me coordinates. They gave me lengths or line segments. So the length from OA was 12, and the length from OA prime became 72. The length of OB was 9, and the length of OB prime they did not give me. Okay, so we are going to have to look at how did they get from OA of 12 to OA prime of 72. Again, we want to find what did I multiply by. And 12 times 6 gives me 72. So the scale factor would be 6. 12 times 6 gave me 72. In this last example, we want to know what is the scale factor that brings triangle ABC to triangle A prime, B prime, C prime. So I want to figure out how did I get from my original to my image. What did I multiply by to get my final result? So 4 times what gave me 3. So you can pause and take a minute and try to figure that out on your own. Press play when you're ready for the answer. Okay, the answer was 0.75. So my scale factor that brought me to the image was 0.75.